You okay there? Yes. So thanks very much for the invite. The first thing, if you haven't seen any of my videos, is you'll notice I haven't got a Vermont accent. So how did I find myself here, speaking in front of yourselves? I've been in America 14 years now, married a lovely woman from Massachusetts, and I became a citizen last year, and we ended up in Florida for the last 9 years, and my wife then wanted to move back, be a bit nearer to her mum. We couldn't afford Massachusetts. We ended up in Brattleboro, south of Vermont. And we've been here a few days, last July. So I arrived in my very first time in Vermont last July, and we were driving down the road one day and I was like, whoa, what's this? And it was this covered bridge that was slightly off the road. It was no longer in use for vehicles. I thought that looks interesting. Put it in the back of my head, didn't think of it. And then we went to Townsend one day and we were driving along and what's that? There's another covered bridge, and it was longer and it was wider, it was taller and it was a different colour. And I thought, that's weird. This is 2 covered bridges. And I didn't, at this point, I'd never even seen a covered bridge in my life, didn't really know anything about them. Hadn't seen the bridges of Madison County, is it? Yeah, I hadn't even seen that. I still haven't seen it. And we came back from Townsend, and this is one of the things I realised. In Florida, there's a gas station on every corner. There isn't in Vermont. I'm like, we haven't got enough to get back. And I asked somebody, says like, where's the nearest gas station? And either I misheard the directions or she sent us the wrong way. I thought, bloody British tourists, I'll send them the wrong way. So we turned right, as I thought she said, and we were driving along, and there was another covered bridge. Again, different colour, different shape, different size. And I thought, this is weird. This is actually fantastically weird. And on the way back, we did get gas. On the way back, we actually drove through the first one we'd seen on the way. And it was just like, wow, just driving under this, you know. And I was driving, and my wife was like, keep your eyes on the road, because it was single lane. And but I was just trying to take it all in. Anyway, got home, and I had about 3 weeks before I started to work, before my job started. And I just sort of started looking at Googling, you know, covered bridges, and it's like there's 100 in Vermont. And I thought, this is interesting. I just started like just Googling them, and, you know, again, all the different colours. There's red ones and grey ones and white ones. And somehow, I don't know, I must have come across a YouTube channel. And there was somebody who was just going to bridges, and he was on a motorbike, and he was just driving through them. Wasn't stopping, wasn't saying anything about them. And I was like, so I sort of watched a few of them, but I wanted to know more about them. Who made it? How old is it? Etc. And I soon realised after about a week of this that there was something missing, because there was like Linden, there's 5 bridges in the town. I was there last week, and somebody actually did do what I wanted them to do. They went to each bridge and they said, this is how old it is and whatever. But then I looked at other videos that they were making, and they were just completely different. You know, they're probably looking at churches in another town or something else. And I just thought, well, there's nobody who's gone to every bridge and done a specific what's the word I'm looking for? Consistent. You know, it's the same start, it's the same middle, it's the same end at every single one. And I thought, okay, there's a project for me. I thought Vermont is only small; it will only take 4 weeks to do. Yeah. And so I studied and studied and studied, and living in Brattleboro, the most southern bridge is the Green River Bridge in Guildford, about 6 miles from where I am. So I thought, well, I'll start there and then gradually move northbound. And I wrote everything down, and I took my stepson with me. I said, come on, you'll be the camera operative. And I've got my notes, and I just sort of did it in like 15 seconds. And I thought, well, this isn't going to be an 8-minute, 9-minute, 12-minute, 15-minute YouTube episode. And I just had to go back to the drawing board, because I was just walking through the bridge saying it was built in this year, it was made by this guy, and it's a lattice truss, and that's it. So I went back, had to really sort of delve into history, and what I started to do then was look at the river. If there's no river, there's no covered bridges. So where does the river come from? Where does it go? Is it linked to the bridge? Because a lot of them have mills, and that's why they built a covered bridge, so the workers could get to the mills. So I went back and ended up doing a 14-minute video on the Green River Bridge. And that was my template then. So that's what I needed to do at each bridge. And so the second time I went out, I did the 5 bridges of Bennington. I did all 5 of them. 3 of them were in the town of Bennington, within a mile of each other. And then it was about a 20-minute drive to Arlington, which is the one most photographed bridges. And then the bridge in Sunderland, the Chiselville Bridge, which is the second highest elevated bridge in the state. So now I've done all of that. I've done Bennington. I've done the Guildford Bridge. And then I hit a problem. And I knew this problem was coming. I hadn't got a clue how to make a video. I was confident in standing up. I was confident in with a camera and saying it was built by this guy and whatever. But I did not know how to make a video. And I asked a few people at work. And I went out with one young man. I thought, I'd hit the young people. They know how to do this. And he actually didn't. It cost me a couple of beers for him to tell me that he didn't know how to do it. And by this time, I actually joined the Vermont Covered Bridge Society. And the reason I joined them is because every time I Googled each bridge, their link kept coming up. So I thought, well, I'm lifting all their information. It's only right and fair that I join the society. And I just sent an email out onto the Facebook page saying, does anybody in the Brattleboro area know how to edit videos? Because I'm filming these bridges, but I don't know how to do it. And about 2 weeks later, Beth, who's the president, she contacted me and said, have you found him? I said, no. So she said, well, we've linked in with Okemo Valley TV. They're going to do the podcasts for us. And they've also offered to train anybody who is interested in producing videos, how to do them. Are you interested? I was like, wow. It was the fastest response I've ever had. And then I found myself traveling an hour from Brattleboro to Ludlow to come and learn how to produce videos. And Patrick and Rebecca were there, and Rebecca just said, right, I'll do the first one. And I thought, this is great. All I've got to do is for the next 100 weeks come here once a week and Rebecca will do all my videos for me. And after the 4th week, she said, okay, I've turned the computer on. I'll be down there if you need me. And I'm like, whoa. And about every 3 seconds, I was like, Rebecca. And gradually, over 6, 7, 8 weeks, it was less and less that I needed Rebecca or Patrick's input. And I found this is actually quite interesting because I only knew how to turn the computer on and off and to send emails. Beyond that, I didn't know. And then after about the 8th visit, Patrick and Rebecca, they said, you know, you don't have to come here. Brattleboro Community TV is like in your town, you know, you can do it there. I thought they've obviously got sick of me going, Rebecca, can you? And they assured me that they weren't. And I actually felt, I actually shared this with Patrick at the time, I felt I was cheating on Okemo Valley TV because they'd done all the good, the donkey work getting me to do it. And now I was going by and doing it all at Brattleboro. But they assured me that no, it was, they didn't want me travelling an hour each way. Plus, fact, it was my first time as driving the snow as well, mountains, because this is now November, December when they were teaching me. So now I do my editing 5 minutes from home in Brattleboro, but the channels they still go out proudly on Okemo Valley's platforms, which is the YouTube. It's their own channel. Help me here, Patrick.
You're on your own.
You're my own. Yeah, it goes out on Okemo Valley's app, and I'm very proud to be linked with that. Because if it wasn't for Okemo Valley, all these episodes would still be on my phone. So where am I up to now? I went out last week, as I said, to Ludlow, where there's 5 bridges, and there's another one in the town nearby, Danville. So I've now filmed 58 of the 100, and I'm flying to Tampa on Friday. This is being filmed, isn't it? Because I haven't told my wife this. Well, she knows I'm going to Tampa. She thinks I've got a very, very understanding and loving wife. She likes me doing this, you know. But I know I spend a lot of time filming, and then I'm a lot of time in the studio. And I promised her that I was only going to film once more in October, and then I'd have enough episodes to last me till April. Because there's the winter in the middle, and I'll come on to that one. So I stuck to my word, but what I kind of forgot to mention is I'm flying to Tampa on Friday, but she thinks I'm going Thursday because I chose to fly from Burlington rather than Hartford, which is nearer, because I can do 6 bridges on the way. Stay overnight in Burlington, catch the 6 o'clock in the morning flight to Tampa, and then I fly back. My wife thinks on Thursday, but I'm flying back Wednesday. I land at 10 in the evening at Burlington hotel, and I can do another 6 bridges on the way down. So that means I should have 72 bridges, which means I don't have to go out in April. I did film in the winter last year because I wanted to get all 4 seasons, obviously. I went out in the winter last year, and it was the Scott Covered Bridge. So I purposely waited for the Brattleboro Bridge and all the ones in Wyndham till the winter, because what I don't want to be doing is driving for 2 hours in the snow and filming in the snow. So the Brattleboro Bridge, it actually snowed last year on Thanksgiving Day. Nice easy date to remember. And I went, it's only like 3 minutes from where I live, drove, and I did that in the snow. And they have a Christmas tree at the front of the bridge. And what was good was it was actually the second episode, because the first episode went out, I think it was my introduction went out the 2nd of December. So my second episode went out the week before Christmas. So to have the tree, I was able to say Happy Christmas. But obviously if you're watching this in June, then just ignore it. And I went out the following week and filmed at the Scott Bridge in Townsend. And I actually had to give up after about 12 minutes because I got the camera with a stick in one hand. I'm just sort of trying to read the notes, my hands, as well as actually all my body and my head was just and I was like, this isn't enjoyable. And I actually had to go home, sit in the car for about 20 minutes. And I came back the following week just to finish it off. So I can't be, so now obviously I've got, Lyndon was 2 hours and 20 minutes, I think. So now I'm not far from the Canadian border, so I'm not going to drive in the winter 2.5 hours each way, and then not be able to film, because I've got to film like 6-7 bridges at a time. So I've now got enough, or I will have enough episodes to completely miss the winter. And then I've got, so I'll have 26 left, and I'll probably do those over 2 weekends. So I'll go out for a weekend and do like 7 one day, 7 the next. Because I keep running out of daylight. That's the other problem I have now. Trying to think what else. Favourite bridge would be the Chiselville Bridge in Arlington. Say it's 40 feet high. It's the second highest elevated bridge. It was just because I go down, I go under the bridge onto the abutments or in the water. I've got sort of waders, and it keeps getting a hole in this foot, so this foot's always wet and this one's always dry. I keep buying inner tube, for bikes, and then stick them on, but they don't last. People keep saying, aren't the rivers dry? It's terrible, the rivers are dry. I'm like, no, it's fantastic, because I can go in them. I went in one last year. It was the Upper Falls Bridge in Wethersfield, and I could only go sort of from here to about here, because after that it was straight up to here, and the water was quite fast, and I don't want to go too far. My favourite episode I made, I've got 2. One is, I'm sure because it's not too far from me, the Bartonsville Bridge in Rockingham near Chester. And amazing story there. The bridge that you see now was actually built in 2012. The reason is Storm Irene came along in 2011 and swept it off the abutments. And a local resident filmed it. So she actually filmed the bridge going off and sailing down. Of course, I'm able to take that from YouTube and credit the person that did it, and then you can see for yourself how it was taken off. But what was interesting there was, if you go to Bartonsville Bridge and stand on it, if you were stood there in 1868, you wouldn't have been stood on a covered bridge. You wouldn't even been stood on a bridge. There wasn't even a river there, because what happened, there was a previous storm in 1869. And the storm, it went on a sort of a big bend, and there was a dam, because there's a load of businesses around there. And the storm was so severe that the water just went, we're not going that way. They just went straight over and formed a new river, and linking up where it used to come out about half a mile further down. And I was able to find where the original, because there was an original covered bridge on the river where it used to be. And I went to the site there. There was nothing there, but there was still old mills the ruins of old mills were all around this area, and I was able to film that and get that in and get at the history. And so I really enjoyed doing that, bringing the history and relating it to the bridge. My other favourite episode, actually again not too far from here in Rutland, and that's called the Twin Bridge. So there were two bridges, which is why it was called the Twin, but there's only one left, and this is the only remaining covered bridge in the town of Rutland. And a similar thing happened there. There was one bridge, and it was built in 1849. And then there was a crazy storm, and the river went, okay, we're going to go here now. And the river just moved about 20, 30, 40 feet. So the same person who built the original built another one. So then you had two bridges, and the gap between the two was probably about the same as these two pillars. That's how far away they were. In 1949, crazy storm came, and the first bridge was washed away. And the second bridge, one of the abutments was off, so the bridge was doing that. So in 1947, the town decided they're just going to build a concrete and steel bridge. And they picked this bridge up because it was fine, it was in good shape. And they moved it about 40 yards away onto land, and they used it as a town shed. And it still remains there, but it's a bridge, and all they did was just covered each end up. And it's still classed as one of the 100 covered bridges in Vermont because it's still, as a structure, it's there. And so we've all got a checklist we tick off when you've been to this bridge. So hundreds of people have been to this bridge, but nobody had been in it. And people would there was the little holes in it. And if you go on, and people would sneaking the camera in and taking pictures. So I thought, okay. So I contacted Rutland Town Highway Department. Said, this is who I am, gave them a couple of links, watch this video, can I please come inside? And they went back and said, yeah, when do you want to come? So I was the first person, certainly, to go inside and film it. And they opened the doors, these huge big double doors, and it's a bridge. It's still there with the same truss and everything else. And it was, and I had a great response from people from that, saying, they'd been there, they ticked it off the list, but were disappointed because they didn't, it was just a shed. But now they saw it for what it was like inside. And it's just full of signs, road signs, bump in the road, stop, go this way, whatever. That's all they used it for. So that was my favourite episode, just purely because, and I kept it till the last. I went round and I did the story. I went to where the bridge used to be, gave the story as the twin, showed pictures of the two bridges together. And then right sort of towards the end, I just said, if only I could get inside this bridge and show you. And all of a sudden the door opens, And I was just like, whoa, hello, is anybody there, And there were all these town highway people inside waiting to meet me. So that was staged, but it was good, yeah. So that was my favourite. I'm going to two bridges on the way to the airport on Thursday that I'm looking forward to. One is called the Pulp Mill Bridge, and this is in Middlebury, and it's a two-lane bridge. The only two-lane bridge I've been in so far is it's the one that connects Windsor and Cornish. Thank you. I'm glad you're here. But that again is there's no barrier in the middle, whereas the Pulp Mill actually is double-barreled. So it's two specific lanes with a barrier in the middle. There's only 8 of those left in the country, and the Pulp Mill Bridge is the only one that you can actually still drive on. There is another one in Vermont, that's at the Shelbourne Museum, which I'll also be going. I've got to pay to get into that. So I keep saying on these videos, and it's free. Come to these bridges, it's free. Or just wait till it's dark and jump the fence. Yeah. So far in all of the 58 bridges, I've been underneath every single one. Some have been a challenge. Does anybody know the one in Clarendon, the Kingsley Bridge? That was a challenge because a very, very steep bank, and the easier way to get down there is private land. And this is the bridge that I look at and think, why did you do that? And I was scrambling down this it was like a sheer drop of 50, 60 feet below. And I'm clinging on, I'm moving along this ledge. And I got to the point where I didn't want to go forward, but I couldn't go back because my body was sort of like facing this way, and I just thought, you got to go. And when it was only when I got to the bottom and looked up, I was like, yeah, you need to be a bit more careful with yourself. So some of these banks, are a bit precarious, but I've been down every single one so far, apart from two. One is the bridge that's a shed, but I made light of that in saying that I knew that I couldn't get under it before. The aim of this bridge was actually to get in it rather than under it. The other bridge was and it's one of the most scenic bridges. It's in Cabot. And it's in the middle of nowhere. I don't know if anybody's been to Cabot or even seen this bridge. It's literally in the middle of nowhere. You can see New Hampshire, the White Mountains on one side, and you've got, I can never say this word, Adirondacks?
Adirondacks.
That's the one. In the other side. And it's just amazing. And it's on private land. This person just built it because he wanted to build it on private land. And he's just built, it's like a pond. And there are signs there, please don't go in, and all this sort of stuff. I could have done it easily. I mean, it wasn't dangerous or anything to get in it, but you've got to respect the fact that this person allows people to go there. He has you can't drive there. It's in the middle of a field, but you've got to respect him because the other thing is like I'm on YouTube, so I can, you went on my land. No, I didn't. Well, it's on YouTube, So I've sort of changed because my plan was to go under every single one. So I've changed it now to go under every single one with running water. That's my new plan. So every bridge with running water that I've been to so far, I've made it. And sorry, how long have I got left? I'll be here 3 hours if you don't stop me.
Are you aware that a Rotarian in our club built a covered bridge? Is that right? Yeah.
No, I wasn't.
Right construction.
Ah, right, yeah. I know the name. Yes, yeah. Do a lot of restoration work and stuff.
I'm sure he'd be very happy to share information.
Yes, that's great. Yeah.
He lives up in Mount Holly.
Brilliant. Yeah.
He also did it in a different method than any others were built. He built them on the side of the stream and used a humongous crane to then lower them into place.
Yeah, I know their name comes up a lot with restorations and stuff. So finished then, funny enough, you talk about that, I ended up doing 2 introductions because my first introduction, I went to the 4 local bridges and I just sort of like, hey, my name's Phil, whatever, and then the next scene was another bridge and the next scene was another bridge. So I did this introduction, which is basically just saying this is what I want to do. I'm going to go to each bridge, try and go underneath, talk about the water. And it was when I went to the Green Bridge and realised I'd done an epic fail in terms of I just didn't know, I didn't know what I was talking about. I was just like printing something off and reading it. And then I thought, well, if I don't understand it, maybe a lot of people in my audience don't understand it. So I went and did a second introduction, which I posed as like, this is for your benefit, whereas basically it was for my benefit. And I studied each truss. If you don't know covered bridges, you can have a town lattice truss, you can have a burr arched truss, you can have a king's post truss, a multi-king post truss, queen truss, Paddleford truss, begins with H, a Howth truss, a Howe truss. There's all these different trusses, and these are the things that keep the bridges up. And they're all different shapes, and a lattice, if you look at a lattice cake, that's how it looks like. It's all triangles. Bridges being held up, it's all about triangles because the weight is held up by the triangles. So I did this second introduction, and I was posting up pictures of a king post truss, describing what it was. And that's when I really started to learn more about what it was I was talking about. And now I'm able to stand up and talk about all this without thinking about it, without notes and whatever. But I'm glad I needed to do that second introduction because I was just printing stuff off and just walking through a bridge, reading what somebody else had written without actually understanding. And if somebody had asked me a question, oh, what's this? I'd go, I don't know. It's not on Wikipedia. So that's where I am. I can bring you up to date here with this splendid piece of wood that Patrick gave me a couple of weeks back. It was July. I got an email from Patrick and he said, oh, can you come and we've got our AGM and awards night in whenever it was this date in July. I said, unfortunately, I couldn't go because the English soccer team that I support were playing in Philadelphia that day, and I'd got flights and hotel. Anyway, and that's all he said. He said, okay, no problem. And then about a week later, 2 weeks later, he says, when are you popping up next? I says, I don't know, you know. And he says, well, when you do, come along because you've got an award to collect. And I was very, very proud to receive an Outstanding Achievement Award from Okemo Valley TV. And for me to be presented by the very people that taught me how to do it, it's not only as an outstanding achievement for me, but it was an outstanding achievement for Okemo Valley TV because they taught me how to do it. So it was a joint award for both of our efforts, and I was extremely proud to receive this, and even more so because it was made of wood. So. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Phill. Appreciate you coming.